Very good. Thank you very much. We're going to get started here. It's Michael Jansen. I'm the founder and CEO of Cityzenith. Thank you for attending today's webinars. We do these relatively frequently these days. And today we're talking a bit about the company, our recent progress, and also a special project we're getting started in Los Angeles, part of our Clean Cities, Clean Future initiative, and give the community an update about that project. So, as many of you know, but some of you may not, our company focuses on something called urban digital twins. Digital twins are virtual representations of real things, in our case, the physical built environment in our cities, including transport networks, buildings, infrastructure, all those types of things connected to the data in and around them. And they get used to optimize all areas of design and planning, construction, as well as the ongoing operations and maintenance of facilities and optimization of assets generally. As a company, we focus on building decarbonization using digital twins, which we'll talk about today. And I'll also be talking a bit about our Clean Cities, Clean Future initiative, what's been happening and what's coming up. I thought it'd be great to give everybody a quick high-level overview of what we do at the company by showing you a video, in this case of some recent work in Las Vegas. Let me start the video and play it for you.
%39 of global carbon emissions come from the buildings in our cities. Currently, less than 2% of America's 6 million office buildings are green. What if we could help buildings, infrastructure, and cities reach net zero faster, without risk, and at a fraction of the cost? At Cityzenith, that's what we do. Our Smart World platform leverages cutting-edge AI to automate the complex decarbonization process. Powerful 3D visualization tools help clients analyze and predict performance in real time, simplifying financial and operational decision-making. Thanks to our partnership with the City of Las Vegas, our Las Vegas digital twin features an unprecedented level of real-time sustainability data. Outside buildings, sensors monitor complex metrics, feeding data continuously into Smart World, including information about traffic density and air quality, helping planners, developers, and city officials make Las Vegas a more efficient, sustainable, and enjoyable city. INSEE verified carbon offsets to ensure properties maintain net zero compliance, providing the only true end-to-end net zero solution for building owners today. Cityzenith, we pledge to make the built environment a cleaner, safer, more efficient place for all. Join us.
So you got a little bit of a snapshot of what digital twins are, especially in the urban context and some of the work that we're doing. It's really been interesting, the Clean Cities, Clean Future initiative. We started it by doing a project in New York, and then we got something going in Las Vegas and Phoenix, Los Angeles. Now, of course, we recently announced, and we're talking about today. We're very happy about that, and we're also getting close to having a picture on Chicago, my backyard, after a long time. We've got a great angle on an opportunity here as well. All good things for the platform, which would bring us to 5 of 10 cities, and with I think 2 or 3 more in the hopper too. So we're getting close to reaching our 10-city goal. Digital twins, especially in the context of cities, have been I should be more specific, buildings in cities have been tracked and monitored to deliver extraordinary results to in regards to building operations, energy consumption reduction, emissions reduction, etc. The theory is that we take all of this data from disparate, disconnected systems and we bring it into a common, we call it digital twin framework, that allows us to run simulations and analysis at scale across 1, 2, 20, 50, or thousands of assets before anybody actually spends a dollar. That's the beauty of digital twins. And then digital twins live with the buildings that they twin, continuously monitoring and adjusting and re-optimizing on the fly over time. So performance monitoring becomes a big issue when it comes to net zero buildings, especially. Boosting productivity by 20%, of course, cutting emissions dramatically by 50 to 100%. I think it was ABI Research who said that digital twins will save cities over $250 billion in city planning, development, and operating costs over the next several years. And the market today, I think it's now projected to hit 70 billion by 2027, having just been, I think, about 3 billion in 2020 and about 5 billion last year. So it's growing really rapidly, the digital twin market, with the belief, if you that digital twins will be deployed widely. In fact, 500 major world cities will be relying on them for daily operations just in the next several years. So we focus on buildings for a few reasons. The inconvenient truth is that buildings are the largest polluters in cities. That number is generous. That's a global average of 50 to 70. In most developed nations, it's 80 to 90% of emissions in cities come from buildings. 30 to 39% of emissions globally, and 3/4 of all buildings here in the United States need to be retrofit in order to achieve our ESG and other goals that we have set city by city. And that's a massive undertaking, considering that we have 6 million office buildings and over 100 billion square feet of office space alone, not counting all the other asset types. But today, just among office, for example, only 1.7% of our buildings here in the States are actually emissions neutral or non-polluting, and that needs to improve. We have a long way to go. You may know that cities have been passing legislation recently, which we'll get to shortly, now mandate buildings to eliminate emissions all or in part, which is a new thing over the last 12 months, part of the broader trend in both business and government to reverse old trends. So in getting a building actually to net zero emissions, it involves a few steps. It involves using sensors to monitor building performance and optimizing those to basically use technology to cut energy consumption as much as possible. Also, the deployment of renewable energy products and solutions on or off-site, as well as with the residual carbon dependence that a building might have after implementing all these measures, especially if it's a energy-intensive building, the purchase of high-quality carbon offsets to actually bring those emissions to a net zero. And then, of course, the continuous monitoring of all that. That's what it actually takes to significantly reduce emissions in buildings. The market now is for green building retrofits is expected to hit 200 billion this year, which is huge. And as I mentioned, cities one after the next in the U.S., starting with New York, and then there's Boston, Ithaca, Washington, D.C., St. Louis, that have all, in Washington State, that have all now passed ordinances mandating, in other words, making it the law that building owners have to do that. But they don't give them any tools, interestingly. They tend to give them some, it's a government, so they tend to be vendor, agnostic. And instead, building owners are being directed to a website with a bunch of contacts they can call. It's going to be a very, very heavy lift, the way things are being done. The problem with green buildings generally is that the cost of retrofitting can be high, $2 to $7 per foot, which if you think about the fact that building owners pay about $2.10 per foot for energy every year, that's a high number. And the payback can be 10 to 15 years, which a lot of building owners aren't willing to do. They tend to need to see paybacks of less than 3 years, certainly less than 5. And as a result, investments in green building improvements are significantly down, and they need to triple actually in the coming few years. So we look at this as a problem of multiple things, but primarily using data to reposition, reimagine, and greenify buildings. Green building retrofit consulting right now is a very expensive business. It's a kind of a chaotic, uh, kind of cottage place market of different providers using different standards and different tools. So there are thousands of little software tools out there that will do little different parts of this. There really aren't any good platforms, tools, or even consistent approaches. So what we're striving to do here at Cityzenith is to automate that green building retrofit process to make that as straightforward and simple and replicable as possible. And the way we do that is using digital twin technology, which allows us to plug in these different systems. In our case, we have APIs we have elements in our stack that allow us to connect to hundreds of different API systems from BMSs and EMSs, et cetera, public databases, 3D models, et cetera, multiple sources of data that we pull into an analysis environment to determine outcomes like this. And we're showing preliminarily that we can save building owners $3 to $5 per square foot off of their average $30 to $33 per square foot of monthly expense, which is substantial for building owners. So it's a combination of things between decarbonization and repositioning, but it can all happen in a digital twin environment. So what we've done specifically is focused on the built environment towards property owners, facilities managers, infrastructure operators, energy firms, architects, engineers, planners, and also governments. We've done mostly large-scale projects, airports, seaports, infrastructure, and mixed-use commercial projects, which would be a lot of downtown urban core type things, city transformation projects, master developments, campuses, entire real estate portfolios for REITs and large building owners, utility projects, smart districts, from Orlando to the Netherlands, and of course, occasionally entire cities. What makes, I think, the platform unique is that it's a genuine digital twin platform. A lot of the products that we see out there in this space are repurposed products from other categories of product that don't do what a digital twin needs to do. There's really, kind of four key pillars we call it inside the Cityzenith that defines true digital twin technology. Number one is aggregating data massively and at scale. Two is the analytics, the ability to perform both rearward-looking as well as forward-looking analytics, whether those are proprietary or otherwise, at scale, which is really, really key. Three is the ability to visualize all this effectively for multiple stakeholders of different skill sets. Otherwise, you're a proprietary single-point tool used by an engineering firm. But digital twins are tricky because they have to have a very powerful visual interface. And four, collaboration, meaningful experiential collaboration between different parties at scale and different organizations. And most of the tools out there, or software is calling themselves digital twin platforms, just aren't. As a result, we've been lucky through working on all these high-profile early projects to develop one of the most advanced of its kind in the building industry, and certainly the most flexible and scalable. We can manage information across the entire life cycle of our assets, from design through demolition, as we say. And we're beginning to develop a community of third-party app developers that can build applications with Smart World that deliver specific value. We call these not apps, but modules, and we'll talk more about that later. We have a bunch of interesting major industry partners. The one that we're spending a lot of time with these days is the World Economic Forum. And I was recently named to, well, actually, I should go backwards. We joined the World Economic Forum Net Zero Carbon Cities program about a year ago, almost to the day. Then, about a month ago, I was named to the World Economic Forum Digital Twin Global Advisory Board, where they've chosen, I think, about 15 or 20 of the world's top digital twin experts from literally every country you can imagine, to advise on a global digital twin strategy for the planet. And this is a new undertaking that I'm a part of. So I'm grateful for that, because I really have been able to be, I think we're one of the only small companies, ladies and gentlemen, that is really positioned as a thought leader in the middle of a a kind of a forest of giants, and we're accepted and respected in that forest. We definitely, to continue with the metaphor, have planted our roots in a very effective way, and we're growing. The way we work with people, our business and revenue model is really twofold. We do large-scale digital twin projects for larger clients. You saw the list earlier. We also develop partnerships with customers and partners, I should say, that distribute our software through their own channels to their own networks. For example, it's not uncommon for companies with the City Solutions group to come to us to partner, and then they will distribute us to all of their City Solutions projects worldwide. And that is an emerging model for us. We'll begin rolling those out next year. And in the context of Clean Cities, Clean Future, we're developing what we call platform module. It basically allows us to, for a very low price, a very affordable price, license a basic version of SmartWorld to almost any building owner on a per square foot basis. So we can accumulate users and upsell modules as we continue to grow and mature. So the Los Angeles project is really interesting. It's in the Bunker Hill area of LA. And there's a couple of things they want to get done there. The partners are the Los Angeles Better Buildings Challenge. LA is a very forward-thinking city generally. It's a very forward-thinking city when it comes to climate and all things emissions related, and especially their buildings. LA BBC, if I'm not wrong, has at least 150 million square feet of real estate whose owners have committed to achieving certain green goals within a certain time frame. I think largely by 2030. And LA is looking for all kinds of answers to a variety of challenges that it has. In this case, LA BBC is with the ULI, Urban Land Institute. They won a grant, I believe, to explore a district heating and cooling use case in this area where buildings will now be heated and cooled via a central heating source called shared heating or shared cooling, which is far more efficient than traditional individualized heating sources. And we will want to demonstrate using the digital twin how all of that actually will move from source to building, the connections underneath, etc., and monitor that and to basically paint a picture for if the entire part of this or an area of Bunker Hill were to go shared heating or shared cooling, this is potentially what it could look like, and this is potentially what the impact would be on utility costs, on individual building energy costs, etc., etc., etc. So all these things will be explored in this project. So very exciting that LA has, or LA BBC specifically, has come forward as partners, and we're looking forward to working with them. Honestly, it's a terrific group. It's very forward thinking, and we're going to put our best foot forward, as we always do, to put on a good show. Other projects I've mentioned include the Las Vegas project, the Downtown Phoenix Digital Twin project, which we're doing in partnership with the Downtown Phoenix Inc. group, as well as various individual projects, including something that we did last year called Lamana Tower. This is a very interesting kind of residential project in the Middle East. We have two city center things coming up in America. One of them is in Tampa, and then there's another one on the East Coast that we'll be talking about later in the year, but very, very interesting. How many organizations come to us now about seeking advice and counsel as to how to begin a digital twin project, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say this year has been something of a minor breakout year for the industry at large. Completed projects include things that we did with Cushman & Wakefield, particularly in New York around the Grand Hyatt, which is 42nd Street. We did a project also with W.S. Atkins and Lang O'Rourke in the UK, and a digital twin for an entire rail infrastructure line. It was basically a high-speed bullet train from Oxford to Cambridge. It was very interesting. The capital city of Amravati in India, which I heard is coming back. It came, it left, now it's coming back. Was a job we did with Norman Foster and the Andhra Pradesh Development Committee to create a digital twin of the city and use this model to study the climate impact of various housing schemes in the Amravati area. Different types of partnerships. I mentioned the World Economic Forum. We're very, of course, close to them and enjoying that relationship so far. We also do participate at a bunch of industry things, including the Digital Twin Consortium, where we are frequent participants and members. We're joining a bunch of things though these days. I was just invited to join something called the Dream Team, which will be announcing also in like 2 weeks. This is formed by Capgemini, and Capgemini has called together the sustainability heads of basically most of the Fortune 20 companies to talk about how to transition to net zero. Somehow or another, I got on, I got invited too. So it's a phenomenal group of people. We're going to be putting out a press release about it. And I'm kind of proud that all this is happening because we've been working on this for a very, very long time. And it's great to see things, coming through like this. Amazon, we're going to make an announcement soon. We're using one of their products in our new version of Smart World coming out next year, and they're becoming really good partners for us. So we hope to continue to nurture that relationship in the months to follow. The platform approach I mentioned is the approach that really gets down to how do we automate this for simple building owners that don't have a lot of resources or maybe even data. So this net zero module is the one that we really would love to scale also as part of the Clean Cities, Clean Future project. In the real estate market, you basically have this sector that is wealthy, it has lots of buildings and lots of money and can afford its own technology and it has a certain approach. And then you have the majority of buildings that actually don't have those resources, so they buy products and they buy what they need. And you kind of have to have a product that can deal with both sectors, and we do. So the Clean Cities, Clean Future thing you have seen. We've rolled this out now in several cities. Let's see if I have a video I can share with you about this. Yes, we actually ran television ads introducing this about a year ago and again recently. So let me play this for you.
In just a few decades, 68% of us will be living in cities. But did you know that cities account for 3/4 of all global CO2 emissions, and population growth and poor planning is making the problem worse? With our transformational AI software platform, we pledge to try and make the world's most polluted cities more sustainable, clean, and efficient, because we want to build a better future for our children, and we want you to join us.
There we go. We had a lot of media attention over the last year or so, and I think that's going to be, I think mentioned over 1,000 times, and it was incredible, in fact, how much we've been put out into the media. We're getting things really every single day, just really helping to not only raise our profile, but raise awareness about what we do and help shape the market, actually. So I sometimes think we're doing too good a job, but we're definitely communicating well out there and it's helping. As I mentioned, our target is to demonstrate how we can, for 10 cents a foot or less, and we're also modeling now 1 and 2 cents a foot, save owners $3 to $5 per square foot over the ensuing 3 or 5 years. And I think that's a very achievable number. In terms of financial goals that the company has, we're kind of moving quickly in terms of monetizing, and we'll be really scaling up quite a bit going into next year. And the type of platform model that we have scales quickly. So with the adoption of the platform in different cities, and we do that with cities for free, so cities become free users, and we have a very low cost model that allows large numbers of users to adopt for a very reasonable price. This will help us scale significantly, and then we can upsell over time various modules that our customers find with value. So it's a bit of an app store type model where you buy a phone and then you pay for apps. except that the phone is not so expensive and the apps are more expensive. But this type of flexibility allows us to give our customers the flexibility to choose what they want from our menu, as it were. Right now, our focus is on the building decarbonization module. Lots of neat things happening this year in terms of cities and projects around the country. We have more cities planned. I've mentioned the ones with the Las Vegas project, which has been wrapped up now and was a success. And we will now be moving into the second phase of that soon. The project in Phoenix is also very interesting with the Downtown Phoenix group, something we're going to pick up on later in the year, but has as a target using a digital twin to sort of pull data together for the purpose of decarbonizing large areas of the city, which is very interesting. Now, our plan here is to scale as quickly as we can over the next few years. Not so much this year. It's a foundational year. We think that running too fast in 2022 would be a waste of cash. That there's this year is very much a foundational year. We are in the process of releasing Smart World OS 3 due next year. We have a new CTO who joined, and many of you know earlier in the year, Prashanta Bose, who was ex-Lockheed Martin and head of data science at Starbucks. We have a new senior director of product management who came in from Code Green as a building decarbonization expert. So we also have a new front-end lead engineer who came to us from WSP and is an absolute genius front-end developer. So a whole ton of things are happening under the hood this year. The goal is that by the time we get into 10 cities, so we're now about 4, soon to be 5. In 2023, we expect to be fully in 10 and launching Smart World OS 3 simultaneously in 10 cities, with at least 1 to 3 buildings in each of those cities, if not more. And as we grow, we'll continue to add cities and we continue to add buildings. Each city represents an opportunity of thousands of buildings. The average American city has about 1,200 buildings, but the large ones have between 500,000 and 1 million. And so the more cities, the more buildings, the more users, the more modules, it scales exponentially. That's the model. We get sort of pulled into this metaverse conversation a lot because what we're building is can easily be called a metaverse. I think that's a very interesting idea. I'm shying away from talking about us too much as a metaverse company because to a lot of people that sounds very retail, very consumer, like retail transaction kind of thing. But the truth is that Smart World is a professional metaverse for professionals solving professional problems. So I think it's relevant to talk about us in that conversation. Lots of different types of metaverses are shaping the industry: e-commerce, gaming, decarbonization, office working, social media. We think that decarbonization metaverse is actually going to be critical for all of this. So I kind of will close with these ideas that and I was recently in a panel, and this is called the Future Digital Twin Conference in the UK. The conclusion was that energy transition, really in the built environment, cities, factories, infrastructure, is going to be enabled by digital twins because of the complexity involved. It has many components, many processes that require systems of systems simulation, studying one complex system along with the next. That's what digital twins do exceptionally well, and that's why we've been able to after the last few years of pilots that we've been able to do with top projects around the world, really synthesize this into a fantastic product. So I am thrilled with where we are. I've got shareholder meetings coming up tomorrow and the day after. So many people of our own shareholders will be attending those. There's a lot of good stuff happening, in the company in terms of not only has the crowdfunding round been successful and widely published, but also we've attracted institutional investors now. And I can say that we are in the last stages of due diligence with a very big potential strategic investor. Can't tell you who they are, but they're one of the world's largest energy companies. And just to have gone through this process with them was educative. If it comes through, that's wonderful. If not, we will go to the next one just like it and work with them. But it's a brilliant opportunity for us. And right now we're going to be following it through. If that does happen, then they will be closing the investment round to all outside investment almost right away. And because the growth capital that we would need would be provided by the investor. So it's a very exciting time. Lots going on. Transitional things happening. I've got the best team around me that I've ever had, and we're starting to get our due respect out there in the market, which I'm very grateful for. And so is the team. We're about half an hour in, so what I'm going to do is ask people if you're amenable is to throw questions into the chat, and if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions right now. The best way to do this, by the way, is to just type your questions directly into the chat. I'll spend about 10 minutes or so answering questions, and that should do it for the event. Let me have a quick look here while you think about your questions. Let me see here. Okay. Lots of people saying hello from different parts of the world. Questions about will this a recording of this webinar be made available? Yes, it will. It will be sent out to all of the attendees, I believe, who registered. From Chris, a comment. The traction Cityzenith has got right now is amazing, and it's great to see so much noise out there about the company as well as hearing from me. And I like talking to everybody too. I wish I could do it more, as well as hearing. I will definitely be investing again in the next week or two. Oh, Chris, that's terrific. Thank you so much. Welcome. Very welcome to have you here. We had we did an investor survey, which I'll be talking about more. We want to know how our investors are doing. What's their level of happiness? What their experience been like, etc. So we learned a bunch of things. I think we had almost 500 investors, and I'll be talking more about this in my other 500 investors respond. But the one thing we learned was that 80% of our investors were very likely or likely to reinvest, which is an astounding number. And a real kind of testament to how well things are working, to be honest. Secondly, there was a lot of interest in, number one, building decarbonization. That was seen as a big priority for our investors. I mean, digital twins are great, but getting the buildings decarbonized was greater. The second most important reason why they invested was their belief in the management team, the track record of the people who lead the company. And the third was the belief in the long-term prospects of the company and the industry at large. So very interesting stuff. There's a question from somebody about an IPO. Do you have plans to IPO? Well, IPO is always a wonderful goal for companies. If we do something like that, there is certainly an opportunity to either sell the company or go public. I don't know which one of those we'll do. Either is good for investors. We have had acquisition interest all along. It's too early for us to do that. We think that the digital twin market needs a couple of years to really grow. And our value will be maximized over the next 2 or 3 years, which means that we're going to get the best return that we think, for this investment, not today, but not long from now. So yes, there's definitely an exit strategy. For IPOs are not the only way to get your money out of a company. And I would encourage investors, because very, very few companies actually IPO. The majority actually fold. That's true. But the majority that exit actually sell. So what we've done at Cityzenith is we've developed a relationship with a secondary trading exchange, because we think making shareholders wait for 5 or 7 years to get their money back is too long. So this secondary exchange we hope to put into place early next year or maybe even later this year will allow existing shareholders to sell their shares if they choose to. And if you invested, for example, at 57 cents and the share price today is $1.50, good for you. And you made 3 times your money almost. You could use this and cash out now. You could also hang on to it if you believe it'll be 30x, for example. But you at least have that leverage, which I think for investors is very important. When I was growing companies, it just wasn't possible earlier. Okay, let's see. Question from William. Do you expect regulations on net zero emissions for buildings to continue, or is it risk that cities may cut regulations out of concerns for costs? I think the net zero buildings are cheaper to operate. They're cheaper for the city and they're cheaper for the owner. So I think that trend is going to continue indefinitely, and there will soon be pressure on buildings to perform, especially because of corporate ESG standards for commercial real estate. So I expect this trend to intensify. I think actually, William, there's an unofficial list of the next 30 American cities to pass this legislation. So basically, it's here. It's the forest has grown up to the patio, and building decarbonization as law is now here. It's now an American reality. Phil Stram, Texas is hot. IPOs haven't been beneficial as of the last year. I mean, you always have to look at those types of things. I agree. I think, Phil, that I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. But if somebody were to ask me to tell them what I thought was more likely, given the number of people of companies that have a digital twin program interest, I mean, almost every major Fortune 100 right now has some type of digital twin strategy going on somewhere inside at the board level. The likelihood that many of those companies are going to look out for acquisitions is very high. In the last, I would say, 3 months, Cityzenith received 3 different serious expressions of interest to acquire us, that is. So I think that's going to happen at some point. That's the most likely thing. That said, if we can continue to be on this path, there's no need to sell. And if I could take it public, yeah, I would. Okay, question from Peter Foster Caterman. I read on your investment page you aim to have 150 million in turnover and have your technology deployed in just 10,000 buildings. How do you think you can achieve this, and how many more cities do you need, or can you do it with the first 10? Oh, good question. We don't have an excellent question. At what point are you it? At what point do you have critical mass? At what point are you the deal? Is it 10 cities? Is it 20? Is it 30? Is it 100? And the goal is to deploy in each city to provide a basic package of software to as many customers as we can, and to upsell modules to those who have interest in different things, from decarbonization to repositioning, etc., and scale that. So yes, I think the company has the potential to be a multi-billion-dollar company in that context, because for us, 10,000 buildings, you have to look at what buildings are those. Are they? We tend to think of buildings as large buildings in the Cityzenith context, not a gas station, but a downtown urban core, 30 or 40 stories, something with probably 1 to 2 million feet. So 10,000 of those is a massive company. And I don't know the number. I couldn't guess the number right now, but it's far in excess of $1 billion in valuation if we had actually 10,000 buildings working on Smart World. And that's our goal. Our goal is to grow this into a multi-billion-dollar company, or to do our best to get there. Question from Heidi. I heard you talk about a major partnership with a global energy company. Is that still progressing? Yes, it is. We submitted our due diligence documents 2 Fridays ago to that company, and those due diligence documents are being reviewed right now. So yeah, it's going along great so far, and we'll know by the end of summer where that one stands. I'm quite sure that that will turn into at least a partnership, possibly an investment too. We'll see. Question from Brian Easter Amos. When will we see the share price move? Can you say? Technically, no. Um, the I have told shareholders that it hasn't it has moved from a 57 cents to $1.50, and there has been significant business progress lately, which gives us and I can state that we do have a goal to raise the price soon. We can't state when we're going to do that. I can't tell you exactly how much it's going to be, but that is the goal. And the justification will be several new signed partnership deals, along with several new pieces of IP. Cityzenith is now starting to focus on also developing unique IP, and we have 7 pieces of IP that are in the process of being developed and or submitted for processing as we speak. And this is very good for us because the we know the critical missing pieces in the digital twin stack, and those are the ones that we're building and locking in. So IP ownership is an important part of our valuation strategy, and of course, will affect the share price. Our goal is to get the share price to in the vicinity of $3 over the next month. It's at $1.50 right now, so we have a goal to see if we can get it to double. We can't guarantee that, though. Your customers will be building owners, not city governments. That's right, Mark. Our customers are private sector, so building owners, infrastructure operators, campus operators, facilities operators, etc. That's exactly right. Amazon recently unveiled its HQ2 helix-shaped tower in Falls Church, Virginia, with Cityzenith involved in that project. No, that comes before our time. That's being done by a company called JBG Smith. They're a developer based in DC. We have been invited to look at that project, though, so we are looking at it. We've had a couple of meetings with that group. Let me look at Q&A. Whoop. Okay. Question from John Dempsey. What platform is being used? Dassault 3D Experience? No, that's a terrible platform. Sorry. Dassault has kind of a vaguely competing product that has been a complete failure called 3D Experience. We don't. We work with others. We don't talk about our stack for obvious reasons, but there are 2 partnerships that I will be announcing this year. One is with Amazon and one is with Epic Games. Okay, I think this is an amazing mission. This is a question from Brian Amos. To be decarbonizing our buildings and link that to carbon offsets for building owners in an AI platform was genius. I think so too, Brian. I've invested before and will again be while the share while the share value is still at 150 a share. With all distraction, is there a goal to increase the share price soon? Yes. Yes, there is, and that's in the works. Can't tell you when, and I can't tell you how much, but we've had a hell of a year. Question from James Connor Jr. Amazon recently, oh, that was the same one about Amazon. Question from Chris Smith. Adding all of these cities in recent months as a Cityzenith current shareholder, when will this impact the share price? Oh, lots of questions about the share price, guys. So I can't exactly tell you when. I just can't because there are SEC rules. But I can only tell you that there is the potential that the share price is going to go up soon. That's all I can say. Questions from Peter Carter. How does your role, Michael, now sitting at the top table with the World Economic Forum's Board for Urban Digital Transformation, help you reimagine how we will build back better? Well, thank you for that question. Yes, I'm very much honored to be a part of that. I think this is going to help Cityzenith establish its global footprint, actually, because working with the World Economic Forum introduces us into the really neat digital twin projects happening all over. It's not just America. There's great things in China and Europe and all over South America. So being able to now bring our experience forward at that level and have an impact in how this gets rolled out at the global level is a big deal for a small company. So I think it puts us certainly, as you said, at the table of decision makers. And I'm not particularly quiet at the table. I think we have earned our respect, and we hope to keep contributing meaningfully in a way which is productive for everybody. Question from Peter Foster. I invested at $1 a share, and I'm buoyed to hear all this. Can only see upward movement in value. When does the current round close? We don't know when the current round is going to close yet. It will depend on what happens with this strategic, because that will then basically determine the closing date. So stay tuned. Question from Heidi Kaiser. Will you be taking larger institutional investment ahead of maybe an IPO? That is the plan, right? The type of money that we're seeking right now is around $15 to $20 million, and that's what's on the table. Question from Alan. Can I add to my investment through WeFunder? No, the WeFunder round is closed, but you can go directly to Cityzenith.com and invest directly, which is better for you anyway because you get to own shares in your own name if you do that. And there are fewer fees, I believe. A question from Lynn Oakes. I am a would-be new investor. I am a senior that could use some help on how to invest ASAP. Well, to a new investor, as far as our company goes, ma'am, we have a website, cityzenith.com, and there's an invest button up in the upper right-hand corner that you can click on that and learn about the opportunity and decide if you'd like to invest. And of course, there are many other sources for investments too. I always tell people who are new investors, or all investors, learn as much as you can first. Study everything, do your research, and then make a decision. The knowledge of research is the best ammunition. We certainly welcome you. Hello, this is a question from Meliana. This is Meliana from Indonesia, currently in San Francisco. I'm pricing, will it be per user or per city, or how much for a scale of Bunker Hill, LA? The pricing is per square foot for building owners, and then we have a different model for cities. The cities we don't charge, we charge the building owners. So it's an implementation for cities, we call it onboarding, and then we charge commercial users of the software, as I mentioned before. And that's on a per square foot basis. And if it's a large project for a CBRE or a Cushman Wakefield with all the custom work, then that can also include a lump sum agreement. Question from Stephen Dickerson. Oh, all of our favorite investors are here. I need to take something to drink. Are there plans to expand into India? Yes. Many of you know, or don't maybe, that I lived in India for 20 years and built a company that Sequoia Capital backed that made my investors 17 times their money in 3 years. All that's true. I'm hoping to make you guys a lot more. We had 500 or 600 people in India at the time that we sold it. And we just began ramping up our India office, actually. So the team is largely in the US now, in Europe also, and in India. So yes, in terms of the India market, yes, the whole Asia market actually is a great next market for Cityzenith. And I wouldn't be surprised if in 5 or 6 years that was the biggest market we had in the world. Question from Margaret Fairley. 2.5 million in revenue this year does not appear to cover in salaries. That's right. We raised 5 million, so we have plenty of cash in the bank. We're not trying to get profitable. We're trying to make great software and grow the company as cost effectively as we can to raise shareholder value. We do not rely on customer revenue for all of our product decisions. We never got the price at which the very first ever WeFunder round converted. Well, David, we only ever did one WeFunder round, and those were common shares. You might be talking about the Republic round. The Republic round, back in 2019, those remain safe notes until the close of this Regulation A+. So until this Regulation A+ closes, you will still have safe notes, which are the Republic. I think Republic has changed that, by the way, now. They don't just do safe notes anymore. That's what they did before. A safe notes is like it's a different kind of security. It's like it converts at a discount, often at a later price. It's just a vehicle. But until this round closes, David, you will still have the safe notes. And then when it does, those will be converted into common shares. A question from Stephen, are there any plans to work with the DoD? Yeah, I think we will eventually work with different branches of government. I think the government's a tricky nut because they're very slow, sluggish adopters. We prefer to work with the commercial sector, kind of partnering with government to sell to the commercial sector, if you will. It does not mean that as we mature that we won't take on large government contracts. Yeah, we'd be happy to as time moves along, absolutely. Okay, I'm switching back to the other channel now. A couple of comments from Terry Ford. Well, always a pleasure to have you as an investor, Terry. Question from Lynn Oakes. Thank you. I have a dear friend who had been an investor for quite a while, and she's kept me informed. I've watched several of your webinars. Further, my son is very much interested in the cities, working better on all levels. Oh, that's great. Yeah, we need all the help we can get, Lynn, and the more people that we have enrolled in this, that's better. I do actually, we hire interns at Cityzenith, and we actually do work with young people too. A question from Alan has come through. If I add to my investment through Cityzenith.com, would this be added to my previous WeFunder investment, or they show as two independent investments? They would show as two separate investments, Alan, because WeFunder, when you invest in WeFunder, you invest in what they call a special purpose vehicle, or an SPV, which means you don't own shares in Alan's name in WeFunder. You own part of the Cityzenith WeFunder SPV that appears on our cap chart as one line item. If you invest directly in us, then you have your own shareholding. Now, what will happen is that if you have in your VStock account, all of your shares, whether they were Republic shares or shares you bought through WeFunder or shares that you acquired through investing directly, those will be reflected in your VStock account. So make sure that's the case. If you've invested and you have WeFunder shares, those should still be in your VStock account. Question from David Higgins: will our VStock convert to common shares also? Well, VStock is a company that hosts or stores your shares for you. Basically, they manage them for you. And yes, when your shares convert, they will also be converted in your VStock account. That's correct. Go back to the other Q&A section. I think we are close to the end of the questions. I'll give everybody a few seconds to see if you have any more questions for me. There will be a recording of this webinar sent out. I think if you're an investor who is thinking of investing in 3,000 or less, now would be a good time to do that. Given what I've told you about what happened to the share price, I think if there is for more information about, I think a lot of our own shareholders received an email recently about a special opportunity for existing shareholders, and more about that during our shareholder calls, which are tomorrow and the day after. Those are for our existing shareholders. I would encourage people to, we've been in the media a lot. There's a lot of great articles out there about the work that we've been doing. So definitely check that out if you get time. Let me see if there's anything else I can answer here. I think we're pretty good. I think we've hit everything. Thank you very much to everybody for taking part. We had 300 people register, and we had a good chunk of those people turn up. Thank you so much. I see familiar faces and I see new faces. This is terrific. If you're an existing shareholder, you've got an opportunity to join calls tomorrow, the day after, and happy to have you there. If you're interested in investing, you can go to the invest button on our cityzenith.com website and learn more there. If you're interested in partnering with us or learning about project opportunities, please write to us at info@cityzenith.com, and I would be happy to make sure that you're handed to the right people for the right conversation. Thanks, everybody. We will definitely send this out again to all of you who attended as a recording. Feel free to share it with your other investors. And as always, these are a pleasure for me. I hope it was for you. Have a good rest of your week.